Welcome to the Saturday Smoke Break, sponsored by Millcreek Cigar Lounge, where great cigars meet great conversation. I'm your host, Joe Martin, and today we're stepping back from the humidor to talk about something every cigar smoker enjoys, but doesn't always think about: the history of cigars and how we got where we are today. As always, I'm joined by Cigar Dan, Cigar Clark, and Cigar Dave. Gentlemen, great to have you back and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Joe. Same to you.
Cigar Dan, let's start with you. You're the one who dug up the background for today's discussion. What first caught your attention about the history of cigars, and why did you think this was worth sharing?
Well, Joe, good morning. So I've always been a bit of a history buff on topics that I just find interesting in general. And the same thing goes since I enjoy cigars. It's not any different than a normal practice of researching more about subjects I really, really enjoy. So that's kind of what I thought about. It'd be nice to share with the group today on what we believe the cigar origins came from.
Now, Cigar Dan, let's do a deep dive and jump right in. When you realize that cigars go back thousands of years, what surprised you the most?
Well, actually, it originated in Mexico with the Mayans and the Aztecs in Central America. I always assumed they started more in the South American region. And then the big thing that I was surprised is the timeline. They've been around for over 5,000 years, as the potential origin of the cigars started as early as 2500 BC.
Yeah, that is incredible. Now, Cigar Clark, cigars obviously aren't a modern invention, as Dan just pointed out. Take us back to the beginning. How were tobacco and early cigars used by the Mayans and other indigenous cultures?
Yeah, it really is an interesting topic. And once you dig into it, it's just like, wow, that's really kind of cool. You would think that this is something that just kind of sprung up, but no, it's like Dan said, it's been around for about 5,000 years. The early Mayans, of course, were very tuned into nature and the events surrounding all of the things that happened to them and attributing it to the gods. And so one of the things that they did was they would use tobacco products for religious purposes as well as cultural purposes and medicinal purposes. They believed it had a medicinal quality. So it wasn't just a recreational thing. I mean, this had real significance to them. And that's how they kind of utilized it.
Now, Cigar Dave, once Columbus brought tobacco to Europe, everything changed. How did Cuba become the epicenter of premium cigar production for so long?
Well, it became the epicenter through a combination of ideal natural conditions as far as growing, colonial trade policies, and centuries of their people making cigars, rolling tobacco, really building up that craftsmanship and that artisanship of the rolling of cigars. It originally started in Cuba with the Taino people, who, again, they smoked rolled leaves in rituals like all the other tribes did as early as the 9th century. So when Columbus encountered them, Spanish explorers started bringing tobacco back to Europe, where the Europeans started smoking it and it started becoming really popular. So when Spain colonized Cuba in 1511, they initially controlled the trade really tightly. The first cigar factory in Cuba opened in 1542, and Spain held a monopoly till about 1717. But deregulation in 1817 under King Ferdinand allowed free cultivation and export of fully rolled cigars. So that's where it really blew up, and people started experiencing Cuban rolled cigars. By the mid 1700s, tobacco rivaled sugar as Cuba's top export, and by 1859, over 10,000 plantations and 1,300 factories operated mostly around Havana. So you've got the Spanish helping into that. Then you've got Cuba's soil. You have their climate. They have a fertile red clay soil, which is rich in magnesium, iron, and calcium, and regions that produce exceptionally flavorful tobacco. Now, Cuban tobacco has a note in it unlike any other tobacco out there, which is why people want them so badly. It's got this, the best I can describe it, it's a sweet earthiness. So they've got this unique flavor profile that really still makes them stand out amongst the other growing regions in the world as far as people wanting to smoke that cigar.
The most desired by far, isn't it, Cigar Dave?
People constantly are asking about them. So, I think it's a lot of legend associated with it. Personally, I think most of the stuff coming out of Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, and stuff are at least as good, if not better, than some of the Cuban stuff today. But you've got that mystique about it, and the fact that they're limited in the United States, that we can't sell them, but you can get them in. People want that because it feels kind of taboo, like, oh, I'm doing something that I shouldn't. So I think that plays a lot into it too.
So, Cigar Dan, let's fast forward now to the 1800s. Cigars become mass produced but still carried prestige. How did cigars become such a cultural symbol?
Well, we think the cigars probably arrived in North America about 1762 when Israel Putman returned from Cuba. He had a selection of Havana cigars and a large amount of Cuban tobacco seeds. In the early 19th century, the American domestic production started to take off, as Dave was talking about, and Cuban cigars also began to be imported in significant numbers. So cigar smoking, though, really didn't boom in the United States until around the time of the Civil War in the 1860s. Individual brands started emerging by the late 19th centuries, and by then the cigars became a status symbol in the United States, kind of like wealthiers running around smoking cigars. Dutchman Gustav Buck introduced the cigar band to the cigar trade in the 1830s to distinguish his brands from the others and to prevent counterfeiting of the Cuban cigars, which is still something you have to watch for today. All manufacturers liked it, started imitating what he was doing, and shortly after, the band had this advantage that it protected the fingers of the members of the upper class when they're wearing their white gloves. So it kind of became a status symbol of, hey, we're part of the cigar clubs, places we can smoke. And that's where they started to pick up a lot of the prestige that grew the cigar smoking in the 17 and 1800s.
You're listening to Saturday Smoke Break with Cigar Dan and Cigar Clark from Millcreek Cigar Lounge. And of course, Cigar Dave is with us today as well. Let's keep things rolling. So, Cigar Clark, the U.S. embargo in the 1960s, I understand it changed everything. What happened to the cigar world when Cuban cigar makers began producing cigars in places like the Dominican Republic and Nicaragua?
Yeah, geopolitical considerations aside, it really was a favor to us, the cigar smokers, when they put the embargo in on Cuba, because up to that point, Cuba was seen as this is the center of the cigar universe. You want a good cigar, you're going to get it from Cuba. There's really no other places you're going to get a good cigar from. When the embargo happened, what happened was when the takeover happened in Cuba, a lot of the big names just took off. I mean, they got out of there. So the big names in the cigar industry that had been in their entire family for a very long time, had been involved in the cigar world, got out of Cuba and went to different places like Nicaragua and like the Dominican Republic. So what happened is they took that expertise with them. It wasn't just the seed had been gone out of Cuba for a while. So you got Cuban seed even in the United States quite a bit earlier than 1960. But they took the Cuban seed with them. They went to places like Nicaragua and the Dominican Republic. And the big thing, like I said, was that they took the expertise. Now, as we've talked before, a cigar is a recipe. So you've got the filler, the binder, the wrapper. And you change any of those even slightly, and it changes the entire flavor of the cigar. So they took the expertise in tasting and rolling and experimenting with them to these various other places. And that's when the cigar world basically exploded. So now you've got hundreds, if not thousands, of different manufacturers that experiment and try. And hey, I think we came up with a unique flavor. We like this. Hey, we're going to use this tobacco from this specific valley in this country, and it grows nowhere else. It has a very unique flavor to it. So you have all kinds of really cool stuff happening. And it was all because the people that had been in cigars for so long left Cuba and took their knowledge with them other places. But like Dave said earlier, there's so many good cigars out there. Cuban cigars, yeah, they have a mystique to them, and they do have a unique flavor to them, but they're not the best cigars. I mean, cigars from the Dominican, cigars from Nicaragua. We've got cigars from Mexico, various different places. We've got wrapper from Connecticut. We've got tobacco from Pennsylvania that is used to good effect for different flavors, different cigars, and different ways of doing the thing. And it all came because the guys left after the embargo.
Gentlemen, I've got to tell you, this is why I love hosting the Saturday Smoke Break. I feel like I'm back in college and I'm in Cigar 101, the history of cigars. Now, Cigar Dave, let's bring it back to today for us. With cigars now coming from all over the world, how would you describe the modern cigar era?
Well, Joe, today's cigar industry is probably the best it ever has been. More companies are starting up, creating quality cigars. We've got tobacco coming from more regions of the world. We've got African regions that are growing tobacco. We've got Mexico getting involved in it, coming out with some great tobacco. All the growing regions in Nicaragua, all of that. We've got people making new hybrids of leaves. So they're combining leaves together genetically and creating new strains that give combinations of flavors or new flavors entirely. So you've got all this stuff going on. And unlike the cigar boom of the 1990s, companies were sprouting up everywhere back then. And everybody was trying to get in on the cigar boom because they saw it as a way to make money. So you ended up with an industry just flooded with subpar product that most of it didn't last more than a few years. Most companies didn't. This time around, I really believe we're in the beginnings of a new cigar boom. We're already well into it. But you've got these companies that are coming out now with people that are truly passionate about cigars and about making quality products. And these little guys are looking at the industry and saying, I need to make a splash. How do I do that? And so they're coming up with unique ways of combining tobaccos together and creating new blends that you didn't normally see 10, 15, 20 years ago. And again, experimenting with hybridizing leaves and things like that. So you've really got a lot of people out there creating a very high quality product that just have a passion for cigars. And I really think they're going to see much more longevity in the industry than most of the companies from the cigar boom in the 90s. And you're really going to see the industry as a whole continue to pick up speed here as more and more people get in and start doing some new and innovative things. I mean, that's why we focus a lot on the boutiques at the lounge, is because that's where a lot of the interesting stuff is happening nowadays. So we encourage people to come in, and a lot of people come in and they go, I don't know any of these names. Well, that's a good thing. Now you get a chance to experiment and try some new things out and see what you like, what you don't like. So it gives people an opportunity. But yeah, I think the industry today is better off than it has been in a long time.
So, Cigar Dave, let me ask a follow-up question. For someone sitting in the Millcreek Cigar Lounge right now enjoying a cigar, what do you hope they appreciate more after learning the history that we talked about today?
Well, I hope they understand, they enjoy the fact that the product that they have in their hand has such a rich history to it, that it's been around for so long, that it has gone through so many different evolutions of the product to get it to where it is today. Just as much as I hope that they understand the process that goes into making a cigar. To me, I feel that makes it much more enjoyable when you know everything that went into putting the product in your hand. You tend to enjoy it more because you understand this wasn't something just hastily put together, that it was something that was cultivated and took time to properly put together and put in your hand. I feel the same way about the history, that they're going to look at that and they're going to really appreciate what all the cigar has gone through to get to where it is today, to the product that you're currently got in your hand and you're smoking.
Cigar Dan and Cigar Clark, anything to add?
Yeah, I do. Just kind of based on some of the stuff that Dave talked about in the history and the things that have worked up and built up. The great byproduct of cigar smoking is you get to meet new folks, you get to enjoy time with each other. And on a personal note, because of the cigar world and the cigar community being the way it is, there's people I know now that I never would have met. There's people from Germany I know. I go on an event with them every year. There's people from Japan. We've got folks from the country from the north of us, Canada, coming down. And all that is accumulation of the history of a cigar and how it came around, and just really adds to the community. So it's brought a different level of experience and knowledge to my life, just being in the ability to have one-on-one conversations with these folks and network with these guys. So we've really learned a lot about it, and it's all because started 5,000 years ago. It's became such a large movement where, again, you come to a cigar lounge, and Clark's talked about this before. It doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter where you came from. We're all one big community, and it's great to meet new people. It's great to meet new business folks coming online and see what they're doing with different tobaccos and different blends. And it all goes back to what started about 5,000 years ago. So it's been a blessing in my life, and I think Clark and Dave would agree. It's really great to be able to get to know these folks that are out there that otherwise we never would have met.
Yeah, and let me add this too. I agree with everything that Dan and Dave just said. The thing that's really interesting to me is that although we're not trying to approach the gods, we're not trying to get their attention, we're not trying to appease them, some things still kind of remain the same. I mean, the rituals are the same as they were probably 5,000 years ago. You got the cigar, you got to clip it, how you light it, how you do the smoke, how it draws you close to the people that you're near when you're smoking the cigar. So we haven't really progressed all that far in 5,000 years in terms of what it means to us in certain ways. So I think that actually adds a kind of an interesting note to the whole experience too.
Great stuff today, guys. This has been fun. Big thanks once again to Cigar Dan, Cigar Clark, and Cigar Dave for walking us through the incredible history of cigars, from ancient rituals to the premium smokes we enjoyed today. For anyone listening, stop by the Millcreek Cigar Lounge at 3723 West 12th Street in Erie, across from the Harley-Davidson dealership. No membership is ever needed. Whether you're new to cigars or a seasoned smoker, there's nothing like enjoying a great cigar while appreciating the story behind it. Until next time, I'm Joe Martin reminding you, life is too short for bad cigars. Head to the Millcreek Cigar Lounge. Stay smoky, friends.
Surgeon General warning. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.